In the year 2187, the skies above Earth changed forever. Strange lights appeared one Tuesday morning, glowing with colors humans had never seen before. These weren't meteors or satellites. They were ships from beyond the stars. The Valkyrie had arrived. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered like oil on water, changing colors as they moved. Their eyes were large and completely black, set in narrow faces with no visible nose or ears. They breathed through small slits along their necks. News of first contact spread across Earth in minutes. People gathered in streets, looking up at the sky where 5 Valkyrie ships hung in perfect formation. Markets closed. Schools sent children home. Religious leaders called for calm while military forces around the world went on high alert. Commander Ta led the Valkyrie delegation. She had studied distant worlds for over 40 Valkyrie years, but Earth fascinated her most. The small blue planet had appeared on their scans just 3 years ago, when humans began using a new type of energy that created ripples in space Valkyrie instruments could detect. "We come with peace," Commander Ta's message translated across all Earth communication channels. "We wish to learn and share knowledge." World leaders gathered in New York at the United Nations Space Council, a branch created just 30 years earlier when humans established their first Mars colony. They prepared to meet the aliens with a mixture of fear, hope, and curiosity. President Kim of the United Earth Alliance stepped forward as humanity's representative. A calm woman with steel-gray hair and steady hands, she had been chosen for her diplomatic skills and scientific background. "We welcome you to Earth," she said when the Valkyrie delegation entered the Great Hall. 6 aliens walked in perfect unison, their movements fluid and graceful. Commander Ta led them, wearing what looked like flowing silver cloth that moved on its own. The meeting lasted 5 hours. The Valkyrie explained they came from a star system 87 light-years away. They had mastered faster-than-light travel over 400 years ago and had peacefully contacted 17 other species before humans. "Your advancement puzzles us," Commander Ta said through her translator device. "Most species take 3 times longer to reach space. You moved from simple flight to Mars colonies in less than 2 centuries. President Kim smiled. "Humans are naturally curious and adaptable." But Commander Ta tilted her head in what humans would later learn was their gesture of doubt. "Perhaps, or perhaps there is more to your story." The next weeks brought cultural exchanges. Valkyrie scientists visited Earth's major cities, while human diplomats toured the Valkyrie mothership. Both sides shared art, music, and basic scientific knowledge, carefully avoiding military or advanced technological secrets. Commander Ta spent much of her time in Earth's museums and libraries. She found herself drawn to ancient history sections, studying artifacts from civilizations long gone. Something about human history didn't match Valkyrie predictions about species development. "Your pyramids," she said to Dr. Han, her human guide at the Cairo Museum. "They seem too precise for the tools your ancestors supposedly used." Dr. Han nodded. Many archaeologists have wondered the same thing. Some believe ancient humans had help or knowledge we don't understand. Commander Ta's skin rippled with blue patterns, a sign of intense interest among her kind. "And these myths of gods who came from the sky?" "Just stories," Dr. Han said. "Every culture has them." "Every culture on Earth," Commander Ta corrected. "But we have found similar stories on only 2 other worlds." Both had forgotten their true histories. The commander's interest grew when she discovered the underwater ruins near Japan, stone structures that seemed to predate known civilization by thousands of years, and the perfectly cut stone blocks in Peru that weighed tons yet fit together without mortar, and strange electrical devices found in ancient Egyptian tombs. She requested access to more restricted archaeological sites. At first, Earth authorities hesitated, but curiosity overcame caution. They wanted to know what she suspected. In the deep desert of Australia, Commander Ta examined cave paintings said to be 40,000 years old. Some showed figures that looked nothing like humans or any Earth animal. One series of markings resembled star charts. "These don't match the stars as seen from Earth," she told her team. "They show a view from somewhere else." When human scientists tested the paint using new methods developed with Valkyrie help, they made a startling discovery. The paintings contained trace elements not found naturally on Earth. Commander Ta's research intensified. She collected samples from ancient sites across the planet. She compared human DNA with biological records from other worlds. She analyzed old texts about lost continents and civilizations destroyed by great floods. 3 months after arrival, she requested a private meeting with President Kim and the Security Council. "Your world is not what it appears to be," Commander Ta said simply, "and your species may be much older than you believe." She projected images showing similarities between ancient Earth writing and symbols found on a dead world 50 light-years away. She displayed genetic markers in human DNA that matched no Earth species but showed links to biological samples from distant star systems. "We believed Earth was new to the galactic community," Commander Ta said. "Now I suspect humans may once have been part of a much older civilization that spanned many worlds." President Kim stared at the evidence, her hands tied around her coffee cup. "That's impossible. We evolved here." "Did you?" Commander Ta asked softly. "Then why do so many of your oldest myths speak of wars in the heavens? Why do your ancient texts mention technology no primitive society could understand? Why does human DNA contain sequences that appear designed rather than evolved?" The room fell silent. Outside, people went about their lives unaware that their understanding of human history might soon change forever. "There is one way to know for certain," Commander Ta said. "My research shows unusual energy readings from beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. If you will permit a joint expedition, we may find answers there." President Kim looked at her advisors, then back at the alien. "If what you're suggesting is true, that humans have some forgotten connection to the stars, why don't we remember it?" Commander Ta's skin turned a deep purple. "That, President Kim, is what truly worries me. Because something must have happened to make your entire species forget." 2 days later, as scientists prepared for the Antarctic expedition, Commander Ta received a transmission from the Valkyrie homeworld. Her leaders had reviewed her findings and upgraded Earth's status from newly discovered civilization to potential legacy world, their term for planets with connections to ancient spacefaring societies. The message ended with a warning. "Proceed with caution. If humans are indeed descendants of the forgotten ones, their awakening may trigger protocols established long before our recording of history." Commander Ta stared at the stars that night, wondering what secrets lay frozen beneath Earth's ice and buried in human DNA. Something had brought humans back to the stars after a very long absence, and she couldn't help wondering if something out there had been waiting for their return. Cold wind whipped across the Gobi Desert as the team of scientists set up their camp. 5 large tents stood in a circle, their sides flapping against the gusts that threw sand everywhere. This wasn't just any research expedition. It was the first joint human-Valkyrie archaeological dig in history. Dr. Ji Woo checked her equipment one last time. At 52, she was Earth's top expert on civilizations that existed before recorded history. Her gray streaked hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and decades of fieldwork had left her skin weathered. She had excavated sites on every continent, but nothing had prepared her for working alongside aliens. "The readings are strongest here," said Dak, a Valkyrie technician whose skin shifted between green and blue tones. He held a device that looked like a silver rod with a glowing tip. "Something large beneath us." Commander Ta stood nearby, her tall figure casting a long shadow in the setting sun. "How deep?" "At least 30 meters, Dak replied. Dr. Jiwoo frowned. "That's impossible. Nothing from ancient human civilizations would be buried that deep unless it was deliberately hidden." "Perhaps it was," said Commander Ta. They began digging the next morning. The Valkyrie brought machines that cut through the desert floor like it was butter, boring a perfect shaft downward. By noon, they had reached 15 meters. By evening, They hit something solid at 34 meters below the surface. "It's not rock," reported Sunho, a young geologist who monitored the drill. "The material is reflecting our scans in patterns consistent with processed metal." Dr. Jiwoo's heart raced. No human civilization had technology to create metal structures this size 75,000 years ago. The date their initial tests suggested for the site. Humans at that time were supposed to be using basic stone tools, not building underground metal chambers. On the third day, they created an entry point. Commander Tai insisted on being the first to enter alongside Dr. Jiwoo. They descended in a small platform that the Valkyrie team lowered carefully through the shaft. "Air readings are normal," said Commander Tai, checking the small device on her wrist. "No toxins detected." Dr. Jiwoo nodded but kept her breathing mask on as they stepped off the platform onto a smooth floor. Their lights revealed a vast chamber extending into darkness. The walls gleamed with a material that wasn't quite metal and wasn't quite stone. "Look at the floor," Dr. Jiwoo whispered. Patterns were etched into the surface, circles inside circles, connected by lines. It reminded her of circuit boards, but with a fluid, artistic quality no human engineer would design. As they moved deeper, lights suddenly flared to life around them. Not flames or electricity, but a soft blue glow emanating from the walls themselves. "It's responding to our presence," Commander Ta said, her voice hushed with awe. "After 75,000 years, it still has power." They came to what appeared to be a control room. Crystal pillars rose from the floor, covered in strange symbols. When Dr. Jiwoo moved closer to one, it brightened and began humming. "Don't touch anything," warned Commander Ta. Too late. The crystal had already responded to Dr. Jiwoo's proximity. Images suddenly projected into the air between them. Three-dimensional holograms showing what looked like humans dressed in flowing garments, working alongside beings that were neither human nor Valkyrie. "These are technical schematics," said Commander Tai, studying the floating images. "For ships that could travel between stars." Dr. Jiwoo moved to another crystal column. This one activated to show a map of Earth as it would have looked 75,000 years ago, with different coastlines and climate zones. Then the image zoomed out to show Earth's solar system, then further to reveal a spiral arm of the galaxy. Dozens of stars lit up across the map. Lines connected them, forming a network. Text appeared in a flowing script Dr. Jiwoo had never seen before. "Can you read this?" she asked. Commander Tai's skin had turned a pale white, a sign of shock among her kind. "Some of it. These words are similar to ancient texts found on 3 other worlds. They translate roughly to Restoration Protocol and Seed Worlds." Dr. Jiwoo pointed to Earth on the map. "Why is Earth labeled differently?" Commander Tai studied the symbols. "It marks Earth as primary restoration site. Phase 3, not as the species' homeworld." The implications hit Dr. Jiwoo like a physical blow. If Earth wasn't humanity's original home. Over the next week, more researchers joined them. The chamber turned out to be just one of 7 interconnected rooms, each filled with technology that should not exist. They found devices that still functioned after 75,000 years, including what appeared to be computers made of crystal with storage capacities beyond anything humans had created. In the largest chamber, they discovered a mural covering an entire wall. It depicted a history, humans living among the stars, building great cities on many worlds. Then a darkness spreading across the galaxy, ships fleeing. And finally, humans arriving on Earth, but not as conquerors or explorers. They were shown kneeling, being returned to a simpler state. They were running from something, Dr. Jiwoo said as she studied the mural. And Earth was, what? A hiding place. Or a vault, suggested Commander Ta. A place to preserve your species while something terrible passed. News of the discovery spread despite government attempts to control information. More chambers were found in other parts of the world, beneath the ocean near Japan, deep in the Amazon jungle, under the ice in Antarctica, all with the same advanced technology, all approximately the same age. The Valkyrie High Council sent urgent messages to Commander Ta. This discovery contradicted their understanding of galactic history. No records existed of an advanced human civilization 75,000 years ago. If humans had once been a spacefaring species, what happened to them? And why was all evidence of their existence missing from every alien archive? Earth governments held emergency sessions. Religious leaders debated what this meant for human origin stories. Scientists worked day and night to understand the technology in the chambers. Dr. Ji-woo hardly slept. She spent every waking hour in the Gobi chamber, studying the murals and attempting to decipher the crystal computers. One night, alone in the control room, she noticed something she had missed before. A small depression in the floor, just the size of a human hand. Acting on instinct, she placed her palm against it. The entire chamber hummed to life. The crystal columns glowed brighter than ever before. A voice spoke, not in any human language, yet somehow she understood it perfectly. Genetic verification accepted. Heritage line confirmed. Awakening sequence initiated. When Commander Ta and the others rushed in minutes later, they found Dr. Ji-woo standing in the center of the room, surrounded by holographic displays showing star maps, technical diagrams, and what looked like human DNA strands being compared to something else. "What did you do?" Commander Ta asked. Dr. Ji-woo turned to her, eyes wide with wonder and fear. "I didn't do anything. It recognized me. And I think it's waking up. All of them are waking up." At that exact moment, in chambers around the world, ancient systems hummed to life after 75,000 years of waiting. Humanity's forgotten legacy had begun to stir. Hana woke up screaming for the third night in a row. Her small apartment in Seoul was dark except for the glow of the city lights filtering through her curtains. She sat up, breathing hard, trying to hold on to the dream before it slipped away. Strange symbols floated in her mind, making perfect sense, while she slept but fading quickly now. She grabbed her tablet and quickly sketched what she remembered. Curved lines and dots that somehow formed words. Words in a language she had never learned but somehow understood in her dreams. Not dreams, she whispered to herself. Memories. It had started 2 weeks after the discoveries in the Gobi Desert. Hana had watched the news like everyone else, fascinated by the ancient chamber found buried deep in the sand. As one of South Korea's top physicists, she had even sent a research proposal to join the international team studying the artifacts. Then the dreams began. And with them, knowledge she couldn't possibly have. Hana wasn't alone. Around the world, hundreds of people started experiencing similar phenomena. A farmer in Brazil who suddenly could read the symbols found in an Amazon chamber. A high school teacher in Egypt who dreamed of building star engines. A child in Finland who drew detailed schematics for devices no one understood. They called themselves memory keepers, though no one knew who first used the term. Something inside them had awakened, triggered by the activation of the ancient sites. When Hana finally received permission to visit the Antarctic facility, she felt like she was coming home. The moment she stepped into the chamber with its crystal computers and humming energy sources, the foreign symbols stopped seeming foreign. "You understand it, don't you?" said Dr. Ji-woo, who had been watching her closely. Hana nodded, approaching the crystal column. This section describes energy conversion from quantum vacuum states. This part talks about navigation through, I don't know the word in our language, spaces between normal space. Dr. Ji-woo exchanged glances with Commander Ta, who stood nearby. "How is this possible?" the doctor asked. "I think." Hana placed her hand on the crystal, which brightened at her touch. "I think it's in my genes, in all our genes. Some of us just have more of whatever they put there." "They?" Commander Ta asked. "Our ancestors," Hana said simply, "the ones who came before." Within days, the world governments created a special program gathering memory keepers from across the globe. 57 people from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds who all shared one thing. They could understand and interact with the ancient technology, in ways no one else could. Hana quickly emerged as the strongest conduit. When she interfaced with the crystal systems, she could access deeper layers of information than the others. Through her, the first translations of the ancient language became possible. Commander Ta worked closely with her, often spending entire days in the Antarctic facility as Hana unraveled the secrets stored in the crystal matrices. Other Valkyrie observed with growing concern. "The human is accessing military technology," warned Kel, a Valkyrie security officer assigned to the project. "Technology far beyond what their current civilization should possess." "They're not acquiring it," Commander Ta argued. "They're remembering it." "There's a difference." "Is there?" Kel's skin flashed red patterns, a sign of danger in Valkyrie communication. If they gain access to planet-killer weapons or dimensional manipulation, does it matter whether they built it or merely remembered how to build it? But Commander Ta had grown to respect the humans, especially Hana. She watched as the young physicist stood before the United Nations, explaining what she had learned from communing with the crystal archives. "Earth is not our first home," Hana told the assembled world leaders, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "Approximately 100,000 years ago, humans lived across many star systems. We were an advanced civilization with technology that could bend the laws of physics as we understand them today." Murmurs spread through the assembly as translators relayed her words in dozens of languages. "Then something happened," Hana continued. "The archives call it the Void Cascade, a wave of destruction moving through the galaxy, consuming everything it touched. Not a natural phenomenon, but something created, perhaps as a weapon that escaped control." She displayed holographic images extracted from the crystal memories. Beautiful cities on distant worlds falling into darkness, ships fleeing ahead of an expanding shadow. "Our ancestors knew they couldn't stop it completely, so they created Project Genesis, a last resort to preserve humanity. They selected Earth, a planet they had seeded with life millions of years earlier, but never fully colonized, as a sanctuary." Hana explained how the ancient humans had made the difficult choice to regress their own species. They used genetic engineering to simplify human biology, removing certain advanced capabilities and inserting dormant codes that would allow future generations to eventually reclaim their heritage. "They built the chambers as time capsules," she said, "waiting for us to advance enough to find them again. And they embedded memories, technical knowledge, history, star maps, into special genetic lineages, into people like me." The revelation divided not just the Valkyrie, but humanity itself. Some saw it as an exciting new chapter in human history. Others feared what it meant for religious beliefs and cultural identities, built on the assumption that humans had evolved solely on Earth. But for the memory keepers, there was no going back. Each day brought new awareness as dormant neural pathways activated. Hana found herself understanding concepts she had struggled with for years as a physicist. The unified theory that had eluded Earth scientists was suddenly clear to her, because someone else had solved it eons ago, and that knowledge was encoded in her DNA. One night, as Hana worked late in the Antarctic facility, Commander Ta found her crying beside a crystal pillar. "What's wrong?" the Valkyrie asked. "I remember the end now," Hana whispered. "Not just facts and figures, actual memories from one of them. A woman who helped design the Earth Sanctuary. She had children, 3 daughters. She had to choose which ones would go to Earth and which would stay behind to fight." Commander Ta sat beside her, silent for a moment. "You're carrying her memories." Hana nodded. "Not just technical knowledge. Their emotions too. Their hopes. Their fears." She looked up at the Valkyrie. "And I know why your people have no records of our civilization from that time." "Why?" "Because the ancient humans erased them. They wiped all traces of themselves from galactic records to protect Earth. They didn't want whatever destroyed them to find us again before we were ready." Hana took a deep breath. "And I think we're running out of time." "What do you mean?" Hana stood and approached the main crystal array. At her touch, it displayed a map of the galaxy with a slow-moving darkness approaching from the outer rim. The void cascade wasn't destroyed. It was contained. Slowed. But the containment is failing. The chambers didn't activate just because we found them. She turned to Commander Ta, her eyes reflecting the crystal's blue light. They activated because it's coming back. As if responding to her words, the chamber's lights pulsed once, then shifted from blue to red. Around the world, in every uncovered facility, the same change occurred simultaneously. A countdown had begun. The ocean heaved and churned around the research vessel. Rain lashed its deck as scientists and military personnel from 23 nations huddled inside, watching their sonar displays with wide eyes. 300 meters below them, something massive was changing the seafloor of the Pacific Ocean. Hannah stood by the main window, watching lightning streak across the dark sky. The ship pitched violently, but she maintained her balance, as if she'd spent her whole life at sea instead of in physics laboratories. "It's responding to our activation signal," she said calmly. Dr. Jiwoo looked up from the monitoring equipment. "Are you sure this is safe? The energy readings are off the charts." Before Hannah could answer, a massive bubble burst on the ocean's surface, 100 meters from their ship. Then another, and another. The water began to glow with blue-green light from below. "It's happening," Hannah whispered. The ship's captain ordered everyone to secure themselves. The vessel rocked violently as something enormous began to rise from the depths. Water cascaded off a vast, dark structure emerging like a metal island from the sea. By dawn, the storm had cleared, revealing what they had awakened. A facility larger than Manhattan had risen from the ocean floor. A sprawling complex of domes, towers, and landing platforms that gleamed despite being submerged for thousands of years. "The Nexus," Hannah said, the name coming to her mind unbidden. The heart of Project Genesis. Teams began exploring the facility that same day. Unlike the smaller chambers found around the world, this complex was designed for large-scale operations. Hangar bays large enough to hold spacecraft. Manufacturing centers with machines waiting to be reactivated. Medical facilities with technology beyond current human understanding. In the central dome, they found the prize. A quantum archive containing the preserved consciousness patterns of the ancient civilization's greatest scientists, philosophers, and leaders. Not fully sentient, Hannah explained as technicians set up equipment around a crystal matrix larger than a bus. More like interactive recordings, but with enough awareness to answer questions and provide guidance. When they activated the first archive, a human figure formed in the air before them. A woman with dark skin and eyes that seemed to look directly at each person in the room. She wore simple clothing that somehow seemed both ancient and futuristic. "The awakening protocol has initiated," she said in a voice that sounded perfectly human. "I am Archivist Mira, keeper of historical records. How many cycles have passed since containment?" Hannah stepped forward. "Approximately 100,000 Earth years." The figure's expression showed concern. "Earlier than expected. The cascade must be accelerating its expansion." Her gaze fixed on Hannah. "You carry the memory lineage. Good. That will save time." Over the next days, more archives activated. The ancient humans spoke to their descendants, sharing knowledge that had been lost for millennia. They explained how the void cascade had begun as a weapons experiment in a distant part of the galaxy, creating a tear in reality that expanded, consuming everything it touched. "We couldn't destroy it," explained the archive of a scientist named June, whose consciousness had specialized in dimensional physics. "But we could contain it, slow its expansion using quantum boundary fields." The ancient humans had sacrificed most of their civilization to create those fields, using the energy of entire stars to power the containment system. Those who remained retreated to Earth, deliberately removing their advanced technology and altering their own biology to become simpler beings. "We knew that keeping technology would draw attention," Archivist Mira explained, "and attention would eventually bring the cascade. So we hid ourselves in plain sight. as a primitive species slowly evolving on a seemingly unremarkable world. While Earth governments worked with the Memory Keepers to understand this legacy, tension with the Valkyrie grew. Most of Commander Taz's team supported the humans, fascinated by this rediscovery of a lost civilization. But messages from their homeworld became increasingly hostile. One night, as Hana worked with the quantum archives in the Pacific facility, an urgent alert sounded throughout the complex. Security systems showed a Valkyrie shuttle approaching rapidly, evading Earth's detection systems. Guards took positions, weapons ready, but only one figure stepped from the shuttle when it landed. Commander Ta, her skin cycling through patterns of distress. "You need to activate your defenses," she said without greeting. "A Valkyrie battle fleet has entered your solar system. They will reach Earth in 3 days." Inside the command center, Commander Tad revealed the truth. The Valkyrie High Council has known about human history for centuries. Fragments of your past civilization have been found on dozens of worlds, but the information was classified at the highest level. "Why?" asked Dr. Jiwoo. "Because your ancestors were much more advanced than ours." Commander Tae's skin darkened to a deep blue of shame. "When they disappeared, many rising species, including Valkyrie, recovered and reverse-engineered human technology. Much of what we consider our greatest achievements came from studying the ruins of your civilization." Hana nodded slowly. "And now, they fear we'll reclaim what was ours and remember they took it." "It's more than that." Commander Ta projected an image from her personal device, a star map showing a dark zone expanding slowly at the edge of the galaxy. "The Council knows about the Void Cascade. They've been monitoring it for generations, watching the containment fields weaken. They hoped to find a solution before it became a threat." "And now?" asked a general from the Earth Defense Force. "Now they believe your reawakening will accelerate the Cascade's expansion. There's an old Valkyrie prophecy about the returners who bring the Great Darkness. The Council believes that means you." World leaders gathered in emergency session. Some wanted to surrender the ancient facilities to the Valkyrie. Others argued for attempting diplomatic solutions, but Hana and the Memory Keepers knew there wasn't time for either approach. "The ancient defenses are still here," Hana told them. "The Nexus can protect Earth, but we need to activate all the systems worldwide simultaneously." In the Pacific facility, Hana led 50 Memory Keepers in connecting with the quantum archives. Together, they accessed knowledge that had waited millennia to be rediscovered. The consciousness imprints guided them through activation sequences for technologies beyond current human understanding. Deep beneath the ocean floor, massive generators hummed to life. Similar activations occurred at facilities across the planet. Power systems that drew energy from subspace dimensions. Defense networks that could detect and track objects light years away. In the Antarctic chamber, Dr. Jiwoo watched in awe as dormant systems awakened, sending pillars of blue energy shooting into the sky. The same phenomenon appeared at every ancient site. Beams of light connecting to form a network around the planet. On the 3rd day, the Valkyrie fleet appeared in Earth orbit, 15 warships in attack formation. Their commander transmitted a simple message: "Surrender all ancient technology, or face planetary bombardment." Earth made no response. Instead, as the Valkyrie ships moved into firing position, the energy network surrounding the planet pulsed once, creating a shimmering barrier in the upper atmosphere. The lead Valkyrie ship fired its main weapon, a stream of accelerated particles designed to penetrate planetary defenses. It struck the barrier and dissipated harmlessly, like water hitting glass. In the Pacific Nexus, Hana stood surrounded by holographic displays showing the Valkyrie fleet. Her eyes, now glowing slightly with an inner blue light, a side effect of deep connection with the ancient systems, watched calmly as humanity's forgotten legacy protected their world once more. "Tell them we're ready to talk," she said. "But first, they need to understand something." The message transmitted to the Valkyrie fleet was simple. Earth is awakening. We remember what we once were. And we remember what we fought against. You can help us or leave, but you cannot stop what has already begun. The meeting took place in neutral space, a floating platform created by human technology that hovered exactly halfway between Earth's defense shield and the Valkyrie fleet. The structure was simple: a round table with 12 chairs, 6 for humans and 6 for Valkyrie. No weapons were allowed, though both sides had their ships watching closely. Admiral Jun led the human delegation. At 63, he had spent his life in Earth's combined naval forces before being chosen to represent humanity in this historic moment. Beside him sat Hana, whose connection to the ancient knowledge made her presence essential. Dr. Jiwoo came as the scientific expert, along with 3 world leaders. The Valkyrie delegation was led by Fleet Commander Rin, a veteran officer whose skin remained the steady gray of formal diplomatic occasions. He brought 2 military advisors, 2 scientists, and Commander Tai, who sat awkwardly between the 2 groups. We recognize the sovereignty of Earth and the right of humans to reclaim their heritage. Fleet Commander Rin began, his words carefully measured. The Valkyrie High Council wishes to establish peaceful relations with humanity as you rejoin the galactic community. Admiral Jun nodded slightly. That's quite different from your original intention to bombard our planet. New information has come to light, Fleet Commander Rin said. Our historians have confirmed what Commander Ta discovered. Humanity was not just another civilization. You were the first builders, the ones who established the original Galactic Alliance before the Void Cascade. Hana leaned forward. You know about the Void Cascade. All spacefaring races know of it, though most believe it to be ancient history or myth. The fleet commander's skin rippled with blue patterns. My people have monitored the containment zone for generations. The barriers are weakening faster than predicted. We have perhaps 30 Earth years before complete failure. The negotiations lasted 3 days. The Valkyrie shared their knowledge of the current galactic political landscape. Dozens of civilizations spread across thousands of star systems, forming a loose alliance called the Concord. Some were old and advanced, others newly emerged into space. None knew the full truth about humanity's past. In exchange, humans shared what they had learned from the quantum archives about the Void Cascade's nature and how the ancient containment systems functioned. On the final day, Fleet Commander Rin revealed the most surprising news. Humans were not the only guardians. 3 other species from the original alliance also established sanctuary worlds like Earth. The Valkyrie Council has identified 2 that have already begun their reawakening process. Who are they? Asked Dr. Jiwoo. The Nari from the Cygnus sector, beings your ancestors described as light shapers, and the Talos from the Rigel system, masters of biological engineering. The 3rd guardian race remains unidentified. 1 month later, the first ancient human ship was ready to fly again. Hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica, the vessel, named Remembrance by popular vote, was over 2 kilometers long, built with technology that could bend space and travel faster than light in ways modern science barely understood. Restoration teams had worked day and night, guided by the memory keepers and quantum archives. The ship hummed with power drawn from subspace, its systems awakening after a 100,000-year slumber. Commander Ta stood on the bridge beside Dr. Jiwoo, watching as the crew prepared for launch. The bridge was spacious, with crystalline control panels that responded to both touch and thought. Through the main viewport, Earth's blue curve filled half the view, while stars filled the other. I never imagined I would see one of the legendary First Builder ships with my own eyes, Commander Ta said quietly. In our oldest stories, they were said to move between stars as easily as walking across a room. Dr. Jiwoo smiled. And now you'll be on the first diplomatic mission. The first Valkyrie to visit the Nari homeworld alongside humans. The ship's captain, a woman named Min who had been one of the first memory keepers discovered, approached them. We're ready to depart. All systems are operational. Outside, crowds had gathered around viewing areas in major cities worldwide to watch the launch on massive screens. Children sat on parents' shoulders, eyes wide with wonder. For the first time in human memory, their species would travel beyond the solar system, not as newcomers to the stars, but as returning children of a cosmic legacy. Inside the remembrance, Captain Min gave the order. Energy fields enveloped the massive ship as it rose from Antarctica, ice and water falling away from its gleaming hull. It accelerated smoothly upward, passing through the atmosphere in seconds without the violent shaking of modern rockets. As Earth's defense shield parted to allow them passage, Hannah joined the others on the bridge. Her eyes now permanently held that faint blue glow, the mark of someone deeply connected to the ancient systems. "The Nari have responded to our message," she reported. "They're eager to meet us. Their reawakening began just 15 years ago, when they discovered their own hidden chambers." The Remembrance reached orbit and paused, its systems running final checks. A small fleet of Valkyrie ships formed an honor guard alongside it, a gesture of respect and new alliance. "Before we leave," Captain Min said, "there's something you should all see." She activated a special viewing mode on the main screen. The normal star field was replaced by a different visual spectrum that showed energy patterns invisible to normal sight. At the far edge of the display, a darkness appeared, not just absence of light, but something that seemed to swallow the very fabric of space. "The Void Cascade," Hannah said softly. "Still contained, but growing. The ancient barriers are holding, but weakening." Captain Min nodded solemnly. "That's why this mission matters. Why everything we do now matters. We're not just reclaiming our past, we're securing our future. All of our futures." Dr. Jiwoo felt a shiver run through her body. From the discovery in the Gobi Desert to this moment had been less than a year. In that time, everything humanity thought they knew about themselves had changed. "Jump drive activating," announced a crew member. Coordinates locked on the Nari homeworld. Around them, the ship hummed with increasing power. Outside, space itself seemed to bend and fold as ancient engines manipulated dimensions in ways modern science couldn't explain. Commander Tai reached out and squeezed Dr. Jiwoo's hand, a human gesture of friendship she had learned during her time on Earth. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Dr. Jiwoo shook her head. "No. For the first time, I feel like we're exactly where we're supposed to be, going exactly where we need to go." Captain Min gave the final command. "Engage." In a flash of light that briefly outshone the stars, the Remembrance vanished from Earth orbit, humanity's first step back into their cosmic heritage. Behind them, Earth continued its own transformation, ancient knowledge blending with modern ingenuity as people prepared for the challenges ahead. And somewhere in distant space, the descendants of the other guardian races waited to reunite with their ancient allies, to reform a coalition that had once stood against the darkness, and would need to stand against it once more. The end.